easy. Game's getting better though.
There we go. Now people in the stream can actually hear me. Because thank you,
I hate
OBS.
when you do that whole introduction to realize you're not even in the voice chat.
Yep. Yep.
I have done that so many times, Lestrade, and it breaks my heart every time.
You start as you mean to go on. Like a hot mess.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of hot messes, yeah, Vampire the Masquerade, like you can see from the overlay and everything, and you know, all the stuff that we've been discussing and everything. I still intend to return to, you know, Tomb of the Abomination in the near future, but I figured for the month of March, I wanted to kind of do something a little bit different, you know, like a palette cleanser, something. You know, not just D&D, you know, because we always seem to play the same systems and everything. And I wanted to try this game for a while. I'd say it's been nearly 2 years I've been curious about running this. To clarify, that doesn't mean I'm any good at running it whatsoever, so keep your expectations where they deserve to be at a very, very low level. But especially since none of us actually know how to play this game, or basically, you know, how it works, what is the World of Darkness, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. So this is the first time I think that we've done a real session 0 as a group. I know that Nicola, you did a... When it was time to return to Curse of Strahd after, like, what was it, nearly a 2-year hiatus?
Yep.
Yeah, it was, holy shit, yeah, that time flew by. I know you did a kind of a recap episode where we went through all the NPCs, or like the locations, and trying to remind everybody of some of the stuff that we did. And I really enjoyed that. I didn't realize it wasn't broadcast at the time, but I think that, you know, like a refresher course, and to do like an informal sit down where we're not in character, we're just actually discussing what it is that we've got planned, how it's going to work and everything. And, you know, I think there's some real value in that, especially since, as I said, we have zero... I'm assuming none of us have experience with actually playing World of Darkness. D, I do know that you've mentioned you've had friends who've taught you a few things. Oh, did we lose a D?
You alright, sweetheart?
Oh, she might have gone AFK for a second. I know she's in the chat, but we'll get to her. Oh, she just disappeared. Technical difficulties. She's back.
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
I was talking the whole time.
Oh, honey, we didn't. I'm so sorry.
Get in, losers. We're going angsty.
But
it's a line from Mean Girls to Below. But yeah, I have had experience playing. World of Darkness. I've done LARP, and but mostly it's been Changeling, which uses largely the same system.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Very cool. So yeah, you'll know more than me in some regards then. I've because again, this system's been going since about the 90s. What we're using is the most recent version. It's the V5 system. At the moment, they don't really have any of like the other games like Werewolf, Changeling, and Wraith, and all that other stuff. But a lot of people have A, been homebrewing, and B, they have been announcing stuffs that coming down the pipeline eventually. But yeah, the main focus though is going to be vampire. And I actually have some notes because I tried to be at least partially organized for once. So
Who needs that?
Hmm?
Who gets organized?
Me, for once. I'm trying. Try something new and different. That's the whole point of today. But yeah, so basically the first point of order is what is the World of Darkness? Basically, for those of you who don't know, the World of Darkness is a fantasy setting, but it is very, very, very similar to the real world. It's just things are a little bit darker. The shadows are a little longer. Things are a little more weird. There really are things that go bump in the night. There are ghosts. There are supernatural forces, werewolves, and yes, vampires. These are all a thing. And in the particular game that we're running, Vampire the Masquerade, each of our player characters are going to be playing monsters. Now, there's two different types of player character. Really, it's like it depends on what you, the player, want to be. Either you're a person who is trying their best not to be a monster, or you're a monster pretending to be a person. Every single vampire has what is referred to as a beast. This thing inside their head, the little voice, the devil on their shoulder, that is driving you to feed yourself, to indulge, to do what you will, to satiate that never-ending hunger. Because every single vampire is hungry all the time. So the back of your throat, that scratch, that itch, that need to feed. You're basically immortal junkies. And the only way to scratch that itch, at least for a time, is to drain a living human being completely dry. Now, of course, that's a little bit of bad behaviour. If everybody did that, then there wouldn't be that many people left. And that kind of shit does tend to get noticed. So, there is this little thing that's referred to as the masquerade. The idea that none of this is real, that vampires don't exist, and that you are just like regular, dudes and people who are wandering the street at night, minding your own business. Let me just think. I had a whole line there, and it just completely out of my head there. But yeah, basically, you are vampires, you are hungry, and the only way that you can satiate that hunger, that itch, is to take a life, which is against the rules. Because you're not the only vampire out there. There's actually a lot of you, a lot. And whenever a large number of people get together, there's going to be unity and harmony. I'm joking, it's conflict. There's a lot of conflict, and if you thought that the government of the real world was bad, welcome to the vampire government. There are several groups, sects, that operate in the World of Darkness that keep control over their fellow vampires, making sure that the younger, more impetuous ones don't cause problems. Also, hi Icy, hello. Basically, the idea is there's a whole series of rules and tenets. The Camarilla is an organization that is really invested in oppression, in making sure everyone follows the rules, everyone has their place, usually directly underneath their elders, way under their elders. And basically, it's a very oppressive but very quote-unquote safe regime. Most cities, certainly in, you know, America and Europe and all that, are run by the Camarilla. However, they're not the only major faction in the World of Darkness. There are other sects that have certain sway and influence. A couple of 100 years ago, there was what was called the Anarch Revolution. A series of younger vampires were sick and tired, understandably, of all these ancient elder vampires using the, you know, the new crowd, the kids basically, as, you know, foot soldiers, pawns, and their own personal whipping boys. So the younger vampires turned on the Camarilla, the elders, and broke away and formed the Anarch Free States. These days, depending on what location you're in, some Anarch groups are there. The thing is with the way that, you know, the political network works, and again, this is a very political game in terms of, it's not like D&D where, you know, we're dealing with, you know, combat as much. It's more about political combat. It's about navigating a very dangerous and sinister you know, political atmosphere, if that makes sense. Hell is other people. Any questions? Is this new to anybody? Are there any clarifications that people need?
It all seems cut and dry to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the point of view of the Camarilla. So here's one thing: the Anarchs, they are their own people. They're sick and tired of, you know, dealing with, you know, the elder bullshit, and they want to do their own thing. They're a lot more liberal, but at the same time, they can also be a little more impetuous, a little more anarchist. Whereas they consider themselves independent, the Camarilla, in their infinite wisdom, consider all vampires to be a part of your Camarilla, whether they like it or not. So you may not want to be a part of the Camarilla, but if you are in a Camarilla city, they are still going to expect you to follow the rules. Whether or not you do, that's entirely up to you. There's another major faction which is kind of dwindling in, you know, recent years, and they're referred to the Sabbat. The Sabbat are the typical vampire edgelords in terms of chaos, destruction, fuck the masquerade, we're just going to burn whatever we feel like, we are the alpha race, there is nothing anyone can do to stop us. The reason that they are declining in recent times is during the, you know, the stuff with the Middle East, you know, like the early to late 2000s, someone in the Camarilla thought it would be a really good idea to leak the fact that vampires exist to the US government and point them in the direction of the Sabbat, thinking, oh, that'll just be the end of it. Now, there is a loose coalition of different organizations. It's like a organization of organizations from all over the world that are very loosely connected. Different world governments, different strike forces, different churches in like the Vatican, that have banded together and are referred to as the Second Inquisition. Because now that they know vampires are a thing, they're gonna do everything they can to make sure they are not a thing. And they are a real fucking problem. I think that for the most part, that's kind of the general setup. Oh, and one big important thing, as I was saying at the very beginning, technically, World of Darkness it's got fantasy elements, but it is still very strongly set in a version of the real world. So by and large, normal people don't know anything about this. This is just like any other day, any other setting, you know, any modern day setting. Normal, everyday people have no idea vampires, the Inquisition, any of this bullshit exists. And all these different organizations are doing their best to make sure the regular people don't know, so they can go about their own personal agendas with impunity. So, you guys, the players, are going to be, you know, vampires. And I've already spoken to, we've got Nicola, we've got Dee, and we've got Sefe. Now, your characters, for the most part, are fairly locked down. Deanna, her character, I've got a very loose template for what we might do with her, but I'm going to wait until she jumps in at some point. Each of you are from a different bloodline. So, I mentioned the sects earlier. You know, like there's like the major different sects, which is like a whole coalition of different types of vampire. They're factions, basically. However, bloodlines are more like your family. Mechanically, in terms of the game, it's almost like your character class, but not quite. The bloodlines show there's at least 13 different bloodlines. And each one, they have access to certain abilities. They have certain almost like personality types, but that's more sort of like a suggestion. And we've got, I would say at this point it's probably a good idea to at least start going through you know, who's playing what, and you know, like some of the ideas behind the character. But the one thing I did want to say before we get into that is, you are all absolutely fine with being parts of different groups or sects or whatever. That's not so much of an issue, because at the end of the day, while vampires can basically be tied to different organizations, and sometimes those organizations might be in fairly hostile relationships with each other, at the end of the day, the individual and the organization they're tied with are two different things. There is going to be conflict if you're all like dealing with different warring factions, but conflict breeds interesting drama, and that is kind of the meat and bones of this game. You know, it's political drama, political intrigue, and you guys just trying to get through another night without all this bullshit sending you all to the final death. So, with that rambling, meandering spiel out of the way, let me just switch the overlay over again, and this is a very early version of how things are going to look. We have 4 characters in the bottom of the screen there. Since Deanna is not here at the moment, we'll start with Dee. Would you like to explain a little bit about your character, Bluebird, and what your ideas are for her?
Well, heads up, in the game we can't see that overlay.
Oh, you can't see? Really?
All we see is all I see at least is the picture of the city.
Same.
It's down at the bottom.
Yes, it's at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bottom.
Yeah,
See
yeah.
the 4 little icons?
No icons.
Oh, weird, because I can see them perfectly.
Yeah, no. The oh,
You can see it.
they're
Can't see it in roll 20.
no. In roll 20, no. So for clarification, guys, yeah, that's the roll 20 stuff is going to come later. Thank you for that clarification, though. That is a good point. I'm talking about on the stream overlay.
Yeah.
Which you guys are being previewed using the magic of Discord.
Do you see Devillo, Jonas?
Yeah, I see. That's why I was confused as to why I couldn't see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. So let me just So yeah, would you like to give us a bit of a backstory about what your idea is for Bluebird?
I'm not sure how much you want to know. How much am I telling? Or how much of it is secret? I don't want to give anything away, but I'll tell everything if I'm supposed to.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. At the moment, we can just do like the basic, cliff notes and everything without going too much into the secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bluebird is a young woman who was born in 1920. She grew up during the Great Depression, and she is if I remember correctly, you say it as Toreador, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And she is an artiste. She does home renovations. Specifically, her artistic creations are fully laid out decor for dungeons where other vampires can capture people, run them through paces, create little stories to amuse themselves. She is all about participatory theater mixed with home decor. She is from Georgia. She knows Seth's character, Gregory, and she is she believes in helping everyone get along, and she has a very, very particular vision for the future of humanity.
Love it. Seth, would you like
Did that
to...
work for what you're looking for?
Yeah, no, that was quite a bit. That was quite a bit. Thank you. So, would you like to explain a little bit about Gregory and what your idea for him is and what your hope is for him?
No, Gregory was born in the 1150s. He took the cross and went to fight during the Third Crusade. While he was there, he realised this is a bunch of bullshit and was recruited / joined the Banu Hakim. He has since spent the last 800 or so years waking up every 40 years or so for a decade, seeing what happens, and then going back to sleep for another 40 years. So he is technically ancient, but in actuality he isn't.
So, apologies for almost talking over you there. So, one thing I forgot to mention is Toreador, Banu Hakim. These are two of the different bloodlines that, players can be in this game. How would you describe the Toreador, in your mind at least?
The Toreador are the group who cares. Craft is important. Artifice is important. In a world of destruction spread by so many, there has to be a counterbalancing creation. And that's where we step in. Giving people a reason to live, as well as a reason to die. Balance.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, Sethi, how would you describe the Banu Hakim? Again, in all fairness, given I've only given you like cliff notes. Yeah. Or would you prefer me to?
I'll give my interpretation.
Please. Yes.
Basically, the Banu Hakim are scholars, wise men. They're also assassins. Basically, they're creatures in the night who deal with the creatures of the night who get out of line. Basically, Gregory, the last time he had to be awake beyond his usual 40 years sleep, the last time a certain little man from Austria was marching around Europe and he had to intervene. And he also thinks that Nazi blood tastes absolutely foul.
I love it. So yeah, Banu Hakim, they're kind of very into judgment. I wouldn't say self-righteous, but yeah, you basically nailed all the points. Like, they're also a recent addition to the Camarilla. So both you and Bluebird, you're technically connected to the Camarilla. in regards to the people that you have a relationship with. I do have a work in progress relationship thing. It is basically, let me just.
And while you're looking, I want to say, please, Devillo, they're not self-righteous. They're everybody righteous.
That's one way of putting it too. Yeah, I can't actually share it on this end without doing something crazy. So let's do something crazy. Yeah, add existing. Okay, so here we go. This is, and now you can see on the stream, this is a very loose relationship map in regards to, you know, how some of the different characters know each other and everything. We are going to get to Journeys next before we get into that. So, Nicola.
That's a very flattering picture of me, by the way. Thank you.
You're welcome. Very, very work in progress, by the way. But Nicola, Alice. Who the fuck is Alice?
You were waiting the whole time to do that joke, weren't you?
Yeah.
Alice is a relatively new vampire. She was the stereotypical small town girl who wanted to go to the big city to find her people, a la the nerds. But when she got here, she got slapped with reality, realizing that her job sucks. It's hard to meet people when you're socially awkward introvert, and the only real friends she had were online. Usually with her friends sharing the same community surrounding a certain influencer. And she decided she was going to get tickets to go and to do a meet and greet with this influencer, and decided to invite one of her online friends, but the friend ghosted her after this. They had been talking almost every day for years, so this concerned her, so she went off in search of her friend, only to find out that her friend was in fact a Nosferatu. She got a little scared, ran off, and got caught in the back alley by another vampire. Left for dead, her friend came to find her and decided to save her.
And for those I'm so sorry, after you, my dear.
Yeah, you can say. So she's now a Nosferatu and has realised that she don't have to do shit no more. She doesn't have to pay rent, she doesn't have to work a sucky job. This is awesome.
Well, she probably doesn't have to work for money anymore, but yeah, it depends who she's shacking up with at the moment, because her friend, well, he probably isn't a landowner. And
just remember to know it's not work if you enjoy it.
That is true. But yeah, in regards to the location that you guys are in, which we're going to get to in a second, with most things with the World of Darkness, a lot of focus is put into your domain, where you live, where your haven is, and who owns it. Because Alice, being a fledgling, a new vampire and everything, she is kind of at the mercy of, you know, her friend. And at the moment, we don't have much fleshed out in regards to that relationship, who they are and everything. I have some ideas, but we'll get through that at some point. But the basic thing is, the younger you are, the more beholden you are to whoever's in charge. You know, and if they want you to do them a favor, so you get to, you know, continue living, more often than not, it's entirely up to you whether you want to do that or not. But
I just sent you a message about that very topic, Devilla, if you want to check your
yes,
DMs real quick.
I will check my DMs.
Yes, because I think that might be a possibility, because of something we talked about before.
It's a thought, and again, if you want, again, because this is the session 0, this is where we were all finalising some details and everything, and getting some stuff taken care of in how we get all these disparate elements knitted together.
Yeah, well, do you want me to just tell what I said then?
Absolutely.
Jonas, how would you feel about the domain, the layer of Bluebird? She is on the upper 3rd to 4th. She has a few floors, a multi-level apartment building, like penthouse type things, but not at the very top, close to the top. So she could know the Nosferatu that's friends with Alice, and as a favor, allow her to live there.
Well, to be fair,
So that's
her
how they
passion
could
was
know each
graphic
other, if
design,
you're
so
interested in that.
we could possibly hire her as like a designer.
Ooh.
Oh, if she's because Bluebird does home interior renovations, although they're pretty severe. So she does have artisans that are good that she hires to do, promotional type stuff and stuff like that for the vampires. So if you want to be part of that, that would be super awesome.
I can see that working. One of the early things that I did when I was doing the one-on-one character creation with you guys is, and this is all coming back to, where this takes place. There's a reason why the city of Chicago is currently on the screen. It is because we're going to be using one of the more recent source books. It is called Chicago by Night. And it's filled with storylines, NPCs, locations of interest. Basically, it's a resource for the storyteller to pick and choose elements from. And most of the NPCs that are already established in this setting, they have, I'll actually bring it back up to show you, they have something similar to what you're seeing here, which is a very rough version of a relationship chart. So you see over here, there's an individual by the name of Annabelle. Annabelle has a very interesting connection with Bluebird. We'll get to the details in a little bit, but part of character creation is using an optional feature called lore sheets. Now, lore sheets are very similar to, in D&D, we have something called backgrounds. And it basically, there's usually like 1 or 2 little bonuses or negatives, maybe an extra feature that you get. For example, those of you who remember Curse of Strahd, the character of oh my gosh, I'm blanking on Cork's. It's been so long since I played Strahd.
Royston?
Yeah, Royston. There we go, Royston. Yes, it's Royston. That's a running joke between me and my wife, by the way. So, but yeah, the character of Royston, he has, I believe, the criminal background, and as such, there is a feature in there that allows you to have a criminal contact, or at least find one in most major cities that you go to. Now, lore sheets are kind of similar, but far more expanded. Lore sheet gives you a series of different options that you can pick and choose, and these give you story hooks into various key NPCs, or give you actionable abilities that you can call on during a story or a session. And I, as a storyteller, basically give you that benefit depending on what it is on the sheet. There's a lot of them to go through, and we won't go through the actual specifics right now, but Annabelle is she's an NPC that is pre-established in the city of Chicago, but she is also there's a lore sheet devoted to people who want to have a connection to her. She is the Toreador Primogen, which is the head Toreador in Chicago. She is the head of the family, if you will. She is your elected representative on the council. and having any kind of relationship with her is going to be able to open some doors for you. In regards to the character creation, there's usually anything from 1 to 5 levels of a relationship that you can have with this character. With your permission, Dee, we're going to open up your character sheet and we're actually going to take quick look at how this works, by the way. I did have a structure, but just so you know, we are going to be doing a lot of back and forth. So let me just
That's
open
perfectly fine. Also, I have no problem if people want to gaze upon my magnificence in an intimate setting.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So let me just make sure. Let's just hide the character relationships for a moment. So
You're going to see my stats, y'all.
yeah, those sexy stats. So we'll get to what your predator type means in a little bit, but let's see. So one of your advantages is something called with thanks to our donors, and this is a 3-dot advantage. We'll get to what the dots mean shortly, but basically this is the benefit that you have. Annabelle knows someone in every museum and every recording studio in town. Once per story, so that's not once per session, once per self-contained little narrative or adventure, if you will. Once per story, she's going to pull some strings and get you a meeting with someone in charge wherever you need to go, if it's some sort of creative location. However, after that meeting, the rest is up to you. Now, you've got 3 dots in that, so that cost you 3 dots to buy. If you were to basically spend more dots or less dots, that would give you different abilities on her sheet. But that was the one I chose for your character because I figured that was the one that kind of fit what Bluebird is about the best.
I like to make contacts all over the world, and with the everyday people. Annabelle's a little more specialized. She likes to deal with the artisans.
This is very true. So, looking at the character sheet again, and I appreciate you letting me use your sheet as the example here, Dee.
I love to be an example.
We also have some different abilities. Like this one's a 4-dot. This is called Stunning. Not all. I figured you'd like this one. Not all vampires look like actors on the CW network. Some of them, like you, look even better. And some, of course, look far worse. These modifiers only apply when you can be seen. I, the storyteller, ruled whether these modifiers apply during social combats, on a conflict bar, or even pool basis. Blah, 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 blah. So basically, what that means is you get to add 2 extra dice to whenever you're making a social roll in regards to, you basically look so amazing, you get to roll an extra 2 dice. If that makes sense.
That does make perfect sense.
So, what are dots? What's a dice pool? It's all...
I'm Dot.
I'm so sorry, D. You broke up there.
I joked and said I'm Dot.
No, not in this campaign. Not in this campaign. But yeah.
No.
Oh man, I still feel so bad that I killed her. Jeez. But anyway, spoilers for Vorsul, by the way. Another game I run. But anyway, on track. Whenever you make a roll in Vampire the Masquerade, what you're doing is you're rolling a certain number of d10s. Now you see in front of us we have some attributes and skills. Whenever either storyteller want you to perform a certain type of action, that is going to require you not only clicking on the skill, it also requires you sometimes to use an attribute that's connected to that skill. All those dots together represent your dice pool. So for example, if I wanted this artistic toreador to beat someone into a pulp, I would have them make maybe a melee attack with their strength, and you may notice that there's quite a few dots in that for this character. So that would basically be a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I may, we're going to do melee. So what you need to do first of all is the skill is what you need to click first. So again, we're going to hit melee, then we get a pop-up, and that's going to ask you about what the second attribute is. In this instance, I'm going to say it's melee and strength, and I'm going to have .roll. Does she have any extra dice? That depends. Is she using her potence? Is she using a particular type of weapon that would give her extra dice? At the moment, no. What is potence? We'll get to that in a second. So we'll go with no extra dice for the moment.
Yes.
And what's the difficulty that she's trying to reach? I would say at the moment we're going to go with a difficulty 4. That's the DC that you need to beat.
Can I interject at this point?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it would be a good idea to explain to them, like, okay, so I'm squaring off on this opponent.
Yes.
They have a difficulty 4.
Yes.
Could you illustrate them what a difficulty 4 opponent would be, for example?
Okay.
Versus, in other words, a librarian versus the librarian.
That's absolutely valid. So let me just cancel that out for a moment. So, when you're doing combat in this game, you're usually there's a few different ways of doing it, and again, it's new storyteller, so I will make plenty of mistakes doing this. But basically, you're going to be going up. Let's tell you what. Let's bring up this police detective here. This police detective NPC, and he doesn't have as many dice as you do. So I would say he's going to try and yeah, so there's not much here I can use in terms of the NPC sheet. But basically, if a character is trying to dodge, there's usually a baseline. There's a few charts that I have, which I don't have up at the moment, that I would be looking at in regards to calculating what the DC for any particular skill check is. So, but in this regard, I would say, yeah, actually he has 4 dice in physical, so I would say you would need to, he would roll something physical in order to basically contest your roll. So, as you can see in the chat, our regular players, our regular viewers won't be able to see it, but the players in the Roll20 game, you'll see that 4 dice were rolled. 3 of them count as successes, 1 of them was failure. So he only gets 3 successes. What Dot now needs to do is she would now need to do her melee and strength, and she needs to beat 3 in order to do damage. And she's going to do damage to him based on the difference. So if he made 3 successes and she makes 5, she only does 2 points of damage to him. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, the combat rules, they can get a little bit noodly. Again, it's like I'm trying to at the moment remember a lot of stuff off the top of my head. During the actual game, I am going to have the relevant things up in front of me. It's just at this moment I was just like, oh yeah, let's do this then, and open, you know, blue screen. So D, would you be able to give me a melee plus strength?
I can't type anything right now. I'm only on my phone.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. That's my bad. That's my bad. Okay, I'll do that for you then. I apologize, son. I apologize. So we'll do that melee, and we'll do it at strength. And the target you're trying, no extra dice at the moment, and you're trying to beat 3. And That was a grand total of 4 successes. So I will actually hide the I'll hide the overlay real fast so everybody in the chat can see this, because slideshow, lift you up there.
Ow.
It's all good. So
I'm fine, I just got a cramp. Sorry.
it's all good, my dear. So, like you can see in the window here, there's the green icons are regular successes. The blue icon is a crit. However, it just counts as 4 successes. Why is that? Because in order for a crit to mean anything, you need to get 2 of them. For every 2 crits, they actually double. So if you were to get 2 of these blue dice, this symbol here, that would mean you got 4 successes. So a single crit doesn't actually mean anything, it just counts as a single success. But if you get 2 crits, that means you get 4 successes. 3 crits, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 successes. But 4 crits would count as 1, 2, 3, double, basically. Math, it's a thing. But fortunately, through the miracle of Roll20, all that bullshit math is calculated for us. Because we would be here all day.
Yay.
Yeah, so thanks, Roll20.
Now, in practical terms, what...
Sorry, dear, you broke up there.
That many.
Oh, sorry, hon, you broke up during the question.
Okay, so now here's the question. In practical purpose, what my dice just did, what's the... If you were storytelling, what would I have just done with closed...
That's... So, that is entirely up to you, because the idea is you, the player, you declare what in combat. You need to declare to me, the storyteller, what you want to do. I'm going to be like, oh, that sounds interesting, and I suggest which dice you roll in order to make that work, and whether or not it succeeds or fails, you describe what happens. Does that make sense?
That's not really what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Because we're talking about 4 successes and failures.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm trying to figure out is, like, let's say the most simplistic thing. I'm going to knock this person out by punching them in the jaw.
Mm-hmm.
There's all from I barely grazed them to I jaw. And what I'm trying to figure out is how does the game, the dice, and the successes with that?
That's a very good question, actually. And you were breaking up a little bit, but I got the gist of it. So, the more successes you get, the more damage you do, but also the more you succeed. So if you were trying to do something fairly simple and you got, say, like 7 successes or whatever, you got like a ridiculous number, then yeah, I, the storyteller, am well within my rights to say, yeah, he's not gonna get up again ever, because he's dead. He doesn't have a head anymore.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You can.
So
you can sometimes. Yeah.
In the world of darkness, what I was getting.
Mm-hmm.
Success in the world of darkness can sometimes be failure.
It really can, and this isn't even including hunger dice. So, again, I'm going to keep the chat window up. As you see on Bluebird's sheet, she isn't hungry at all. Not that, you know, she murdered someone in the middle of the night or anything. But let's just say...
I don't know what you mean.
Let's just say Bluebird is at hunger 1. And we're going to do the exact same roll. So melee plus strength. And let's see what happens now. And yep, difficulty of 3. Boop. So there we go. So you see, oh dear. Let me just make sure everyone can see that, because that's unfortunate.
That's a lot of fails.
That is an absolute failure. That is no successes with that dice pool. That is tragic on so many levels, which is appropriate because Vampire is a tragic game. But seriously, wow.
And it's safe to say that in the last moment, I pulled back because I suddenly got the idea of something different to do with this person, and it caused me to miss catastrophically.
Whatever justification Bluebird can think up for missing that badly is between her and her beast. But yeah, no, that's a lot of failures. But you'll notice now at the bottom of the screen there is one of the dice is referred to as a hunger dice. The more hunger you have, which is over here, the more one of these dice is going to be swapped out and replaced with a hunger dice. So on these regular die, as we can see over here, you either fail, you succeed, or you crit. There's not really anything like a critical failure on the regular dice. However, when it comes to the hunger die, the more hungry you get, the more chances you are of either succeeding at a cost, also known as a bestial success, or a bestial... I'm misspeaking. A crit on a hunger dice is referred to as a messy critical, because you succeed a little too much, and the blood is singing, and you do something unfortunate that I, the storyteller, get to decide. On the other hand, if on a hunger die you have a messy, not a messy critical, a bestial failure, then you have failed terribly and your inner beast is not happy. The beast is furious and your blood is boiling, and you are going to end up doing something impulsive, foolish, and very bad indeed. So, the more hunger dice you have, the more likely one of these two, both very bad things, are going to happen. Which is why it's a good idea for vampires to, help take the edge off and, keep eating every now and then. So, we'll just do the again, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll do your melee and strength roll one more time, but this time at hunger level 3. And we will see what happens. Difficulty.
And this poor policeman, I keep hitting him.
He had it coming. Hey, it's Chicago, so you can actually do that song. Oh, yeah.
All cops are breakfast.
Yeah.
If you'd have been there, if you'd have seen it.
I love it.
Thanks, Peter.
But yeah, so fortunately, I would say this, you've got 7 successes. So you've succeeded, but fortunately, none of the successes are a messy critical.
All cops are bratwurst.
Yes, they are. Also, I just realized technically all of these dice were successes and all of those were failures. Yeah, roll 20. It doesn't matter what the game system is, does it? Roll 20 is going to roll 20.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man
It
alive.
just knows. It knows my character.
Sorry, Nicola, you broke up there.
Saying you should have seen my rules on Tuesday. Per Brun couldn't do shit.
You have my sympathies. Yeah, digital dice rollers, regardless of the system, they are cruel and fickle, which is perfect for this game. Hello, Deanna. Hello, my dear. How are you?
I am good. How are you all?
We're doing great.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm late to the party, I know.
How dare you? It's absolutely fine. Like I say, we're not going to be playing until the second week of March. This is just getting used to what the system is, how the game works, you know, some of the basic rules. You know, how the characters work with each other, what relationships are, you know, just all that, and also what we're willing to accept and not accept, and we'll get to that in a minute. But if everyone's okay, I'm just going to very quickly reiterate some of the stuff in regards to the character sheets. Does that seem fair? Because I don't want to be a broken record or anything, but I just want to make sure that, you know, Deanna's up to, you know, everybody's speed.
I'm up enough for that.
Okay. So, Deanna, can you see the stream that we have on the Discord?
Yes, I see vampire at the top, and I see attributes and stealth and skills and... Well, that's a character sheet, I'm assuming, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's
So, the character sheet we're using it as example, this is Dee's sheet. This is her character, Bluebird. So, I would say we're now in a slightly different situation from combat. In this regard, I would say Bluebird, she's at level 4 hunger, so she still has hunger dice, but she is trying to get information from somebody. So...
Is anyone else hungry?
She's very hungry. So, so I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah,
Basically,
but you have to understand, DeVillo, I tried to keep that together. I'm being social. I want to eat, but right now I've got stuff to do. So I'm supposed to go interrogate this person, right?
That would be it, yeah. So I would say to interrogate someone, let's call that intimidation. And would you say manipulation or charisma? Which would you think would make sense?
At this point, I'm a little too hungry to be charismatic, so I'm going to be manipulative because I'm like, come on.
My other...
Or some sweet niblets.
Fair enough. Okay, so Deanna, how a basic role works in this game is you would click the skill down here, and then you click the attribute that's connected to that skill. So I would ask you to hit intimidation. The pop-up shows up, and then I would say manipulation as the next one. I'm the person who sets the DC. At the moment, you're not going to get any extra dice, so you just hit submit. I'm going to say this is a fairly tough person who's difficult to intimidate, so the difficulty is going to be 5. You would need 5 successes in order to intimidate this person. Ha 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 ha! Yes. However, as I mentioned earlier, Bluebird is at hunger level 4. What's hunger? Basically, hunger is that shows how much the little voice in each vampire's head is whispering, or if their blood is boiling, they are hungry, their obsession is starting to take over, and you're still in control of your character, but every time you perform some sort of ability or whatever, you will risk the chance of losing control, if only for a moment. And that's what's happened with Bluebird. Because unfortunately, you didn't succeed. You were trying to meet 5, and you only got 2 successes. And you got a bestial failure on your hunger die. Now, bestial failure is going to mean that we go over to your clan Bane, and your every single type of vampire, every single bloodline, they have a specific Bane, something that haunts them, something that causes them problems. So, I would say there are some general Banes, but there's also clan Banes. I think in regards to Toreador, it only... Let's see. This obsession with aesthetics also causes divas to lose themselves in moments of beauty and a bestial failure. Okay, a bestial failure often results in a rapt trance as detailed in Compulsion. Okay, so basically, rather than take this person's head off, Bluebird is kind of lost in thought about possibly how she would, turn him into a living Giga, sculpture. Entrails on the outside, maybe, sculpt the bones into us, so to the outside, she's just like staring at them, unblinking.
You are giving me thoughts.
But yeah, that's basically how the bestial failure system works. So the hungrier your character gets, the more of these red dice are going to appear in your pool, and the more chance something bad happens. So we'll bring her back down to 1. Oh, and here's another thing. What happens? Why would you get hungrier? How do you get hungrier in this game? I will explain. Over here on the left, we have something called disciplines. Disciplines are, different types of powers that you can use when you're out and about in the night. And each discipline is broken down into, it's almost like a school of magic, if that makes sense. As a Toreador, the 3 disciplines that Bluebird has are called Celerity, Presence, Potence. Each one of these has a different trait. It also has a certain type of blood which can boost it. So if Bluebird had recently fed on someone who was terrified and was filled with fear, then whenever she uses ability that uses celerity, she has the option to increase the dice pool by 1. Basically, she has a bonus die. So that's what the blood resonance is about. It's all about the flavor of blood that you've recently had and getting a little boost to one particular ability. Okay? So, she has a few abilities here. So, things like Rapid Reflex. You see here where it says it's free to use. That's not what we want at the moment for this example. Fleetness. This one isn't free to use. This has something called a rouse check. So whenever Dee or Bluebird wants to use this ability, she needs to use a rouse check, which you do here. What is a rouse check? That means that you, the vampire, you're calling on your blood, you're focusing your power, the kindred vitae, the elder vampire blood, the eldritch abomination that lurks in your veins, and you're using that power in a certain way. However, every time you use that power, you run the risk of getting a little hungrier. And as we see here in the chat, Bluebird, her rouse check failed, and you can still use the ability, but now you have 2 hunger die. And that is the slippery slope of what happens whenever you're using your abilities. You also would
impede your decisions, like your capability of making proper decisions, basically.
100% that.
All right.
And you were going to say something, Dee?
I was going to say that it's almost as if the game encourages a consistent back and forth between failure begetting failure, begetting failure, begetting failure, unless you take the actions to restore the situation.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the only way to restore the situation is to be a monster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the game basically in a nutshell. That is the essence of being a vampire. You have this constant hunger.
It's so cool. I love it.
Awesome. Oh, I'm glad. So that's loosely how the powers work and everything. The specifics, because each one of you have different abilities, and I have got in touch with a few of you in regards to what abilities you have, but again, I know not everybody enjoys reading through all this little new list stuff, so I'm going to try and summarize and simplify for you players off stream, you know, when we have time over the next week or so, okay?
Woot.
But yeah, so that's that's the rough example of how your disciplines work, which is the majority of your special vampire powers. Coming up to the top of the sheet, you have this button here that says reverse, and that shows the back of the sheet. Now you'll notice some of the stuff has not been filled in yet, but I want to draw your attention to something here that's called blood potency. Now, blood potency is something that increases with the age of a vampire, and there are certain things that you can do where you can say you want to use your potence. You want to basically, you don't just want to use your regular ability, you want to beef it up, you want to amplify it, and that is what you can do here. Because Bluebird is a little bit older than some vampires, she has a blood potency of 2, so she can add an extra die. She can mend 2 points of superficial damage instead of just the 1. And we'll get to what the damage is in a moment. I remember that we still need to explain how damage works in this game. Yes, Deanna?
I think her mic is playing up.
Oh, no.
I read that you're roboting a little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we can hear you. You're just a little. You're basically like a 1980s auto-tuned. It's adorable, but it's.
The being so cute. She didn't sound so distressed.
I know.
No,
I feel so
no.
bad.
What are feelings?
Oh,
I'm gonna
Not a problem. Not a problem. It's all good. But while we're waiting for her to fix that, as you can see here, there are feeding penalties. So blood potency, the more potent your blood, it's essentially, this is what level of character you are more than anything else. The more potent the blood, the more powerful you are. However, the more detriments you have in regards to feeding. So for Bluebird, because she's at blood potency 2, if she were to feed from animals or bags of blood, instead of getting a full unit of hunger, she would only get half a unit. So she'd have to make a little bit. No, she basically has to drink twice as much as a younger vampire would have to do in regards of feeding herself. And I think,
Well, let's hope that ratio doesn't continue.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a spoiler that Grigori, who is much older than her, his potency is a little higher, and he has a few more problems in regards to his feeding habits. Unless I'm mistaken, bags don't feed you, don't sustain you at all.
Animals do not, like my first.
Yeah, so Grigori could drain an entire farm. He could go into a blood bank and literally bleed them dry. It wouldn't make a dent. Only living, breathing people are going to do it for him. So, age...
yeah. Drinks from a juice box rat.
Yeah. So in some regards, Alice has, definitely got some advantages.
I'm sorry, I just got a mental image of her grabbing a rat and putting a straw in it like a Capri Sun.
Let's see, we got rats, purple stuff. Hey, Sunny D.
I love that. I hate that. I love that. That's amazing. We'll actually bring... If you want, we can actually bring up Alice's sheet as well, because I will say this, Where were we now? Because Alice...
So it's just one question I have.
Yes, sir.
Holy symbols, do they affect vampires in this setting?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question.
The squeak son.
Sorry, I just wanted to
That's
chime in real
great.
quick.
Yes, sir. Go on, I say.
I just got the image of the the plasma boar from Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have my little straw.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I will accept that. I think that's glorious. I think that's absolutely glorious. Yes, Sephi, you had a question about holy symbols.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. In regards to, this setting and everything, and the big G-man and everything. It all depends what you believe, really. More often than not, you're walking down, you're driving past a church at night. You can go in a church. You can dip your toe in holy water. Nobody gives a shit. Unless you as a vampire believe that it's going to do something to you. Some vampires have, especially the older vampires, have a flaw that makes holy symbols do damage. Some vampires have a flaw that lets them think that holy water can hurt them, so it does hurt them.
Right, well, the other thing giving Gregory's past, but he doesn't have that weakness.
I am actually going to share you something, Devillo, about that very topic right now. Should I just tell people, or should I just put it in the message?
You may share. You may share.
Basically, Bluebird likes the performance of holy symbols hurting her. So even though she doesn't actually believe in religion, when she licks across and it makes her tongue smoke, she's doing it for show, but she still knows it happens, so it does damage her.
Bluebird, you're a strange
Would
child.
that work?
Mechanically, well, rules as written, I don't think that would work, but
She wants it to hurt.
yeah, faith is, because here's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Faith is an actual force, and faith is what does a lot of the damage. So I'm willing to give that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm making a ruling right now that I accept that. Now, in the books, they'd say no, but I like that.
She was scared of it. And she did it with just the tip of her tongue, we're and then it actually did it like a little smoke, and she was like, "Oh well, yeah, awesome." So it does hurt.
Okay.
I say again, Mademoiselle Bluebird, you are a very strange child.
Now,
I love you too, Gregory.
oh, I love it, Gregory. Holy shit. But the other point that I was going to make is regular holy symbols, holy water that's just laying around doing its own thing, doesn't normally do anything.
Yeah.
And if a priest has it, a regular priest, a regular everyday dude, just holds a cross at you, back demon, nobody gives a shit, unless you have the flaw that I mentioned earlier. However, go on, ladies first.
I was just going to say, on that very topic, what you just described was exactly where I got the idea, because I pictured Bluebird just walking up to a priest and saying, "Father, I'm suffering. Please absolve me from my sins." And then she drops to the ground, and the priest place it on my forehead, say, "Save my sacred soul from eternity." And then he does it, and she's like, "That's nice."
Yeah, I'll allow that. That's sick. I love it. But there's as we mentioned at the very start of this little the setting guide, there are those with what's referred to as true faith.
Ooh,
People
yikes.
who really believe, people who can change the world around them to make it what they believe it is, and their belief in the divine makes it real. Their belief in the cross turns it into a weapon. And they are very fucking dangerous to fight.
Are they mages?
D knowing the deep lore, yes. Mechanically, they are mages. Yes, you have invoked the deep lore. Respect to you. But no, for those of you who don't know what me and Dee are talking about, one of the extra, one of the side games that take place in the wider World of Darkness setting is something called Mage Ascension. And it's basically, if you believe it, you can make it happen. And not everyone can do that. It's a whole mind over matter thing, literally. But faith, true faith, is an actual force that can be weaponized and used against vampires and the undead. And a lot of those people are in the Second Inquisition. And having the world's government, track you down through your cell phone and, take you down at airports and, they've got squads of, SWAT teams and everything, that's scary for a vampire. What's really scary is some little doddering old man who holds up a wooden cross and suddenly you got set on fucking fire. So that's a thing.
Then it changes the game. Saying the power of belief is a thing.
It is a thing.
Curious. Would that still affect Gregory given his actual history?
Yes. Because it's not about what you believe in that instance.
Yes.
It's about what they believe.
My soul's bigger than yours.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Yeah.
Sorry, it's so twisted.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Deanna.
I feel bad for the vampire. It's dark and it's twisted, but I feel bad for the vampies now. It's like, you hate me literally just because of what I am.
Well, to be fair, not all vampires, and this is something that we said at the very start, and I want to repeat it for you, Deanna. What you are playing as is one of two things, in my opinion, as a newcomer to the World of Darkness. You are either playing a person who's trying hard to not be a monster, or you are a monster that's pretending to be a person. Either way, you are kind of monsters. This was done to you. 99% of vampires out there, they didn't choose to be what they are, and you're just trying to get through to the next night. But no matter how you square it, you have the hunger. You are always hungry, and you need the blood to survive. Now, that doesn't mean you have to kill people. Yeah, it's a dark game.
I think as Mura would say, 800 years ago, I went off to kill innocent people in the name of the guardian fingers. I went with the men. They were inclined to commit such evil acts.
Okay.
Yeah, he would probably try and rationalize with them.
I mean,
hate forces of darkness enjoy my the catch-22.
Sorry guys, I will say you both came through a little bit quiet there.
Yeah. Basically, Guru would probably try and rationalize with the mages, basically.
Well, again, they're not mages. They're men of true faith.
Oh, right. For the sake of argument.
It's always worked. I'll just say historically, trying to reason with people of faith is always a good idea.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so let me put that back down there. That's kind of how some of the skills work. And again, not all these character sheets are finished. For example, this is Alice's sheet. We never actually figured out where her skills are. And I'm going to send you some of the character creation stuff at some point, Nicholas. So in your own leisure, not now, not today or anything, you know, you can put what points you want where. But yeah, one thing that I didn't cover exactly was how in combat damage works. There's two types of combat in this game. There's social combat, and then there's the regular physical combat. You've got these two trackers here on the screen. You've got your regular health, and then you've got your willpower. Okay. Now, whenever you as a player basically tap it once, that puts a line through it. What that means is you have taken a point of superficial damage. There's two types of damage in this game. There is superficial damage and there's aggravated damage. Superficial damage basically is like cuts and bruises, scrapes, you know, nothing major, something that's going to clear up pretty easily. Aggravated damage is, oh, that fucking hurt, ow, I need a doctor, you know, that kind of thing. Now for vampires, any kind of bullet, you know, like maybe not shotguns, but most weapons that would cause aggravated damage to a living person only does superficial damage. Things like fire, maybe shotguns, semi-automatic fire, that's going to start doing aggravated damage. As you basically go through a combat round, you can see down here your entire health track slowly gets filled with aggravated damage. This happens to your character. You have what is referred to as an impairment, and your dice are, you're now basically taking penalties whenever you're rolling something involving these traits. The same is with your willpower. Now, how do you take damage to your willpower? Well, there are certain, you know, spells, certain abilities, certain times where a vampire would lose face in front of other vampires, and you take, you know, willpower damage that way. But the main way that you are going to take damage to your willpower is when you do it to yourself. Why would you do that? Let me explain. When, if we go back earlier to, and I will actually show this again on the stream, let me just bring the overlay back up. So this was Bluebird's roll a little while back, and she got nothing but failures. I mean, literally, she rolled 6 dice and got nothing, right? So what you could have done is you could have burned a point of willpower, and that would have allowed you to re-roll 3 dice. You don't have to make it 3, you can roll up to 3. And how do we just roll dice by themselves? This icon here in the top left of the sheet, this is just like the basic dice roll. So let's just call it a re-roll for the moment, and we're gonna choose to roll 3 dice. Don't worry so much about the difficulty, just set that to 0, that's fine. So, oh, the emotes have begun. The Rapri Sun, I only just noticed that. That's amazing. But unfortunately, out of that reroll, you got 0 successes again there, D. Sorry. Bluebird on brand there. But hopefully... but that is basically how you would try to... so that the first initial roll that you make, that isn't set in stone. You can always try and improve it. So however many fails you have, you can always try and burn a willpower to re-roll it. However, you are burning a willpower every time you try. And the more willpower you burn, the more and more difficult it is to resist frenzy. Resist frenzy? What does that mean? Let's find out. You see here that poor Alice, not only is her health impaired, she's now at hunger 5. She could snap at any moment. So we're going to push this little button here, and she's going to try and roll her remaining willpower dice to resist going into a blood frenzy. Which means she will fucking go for the nearest source of blood to feed her
wait a minute.
hunger.
That's me. Hold up, Alice.
Exactly that. Oh, by the way, roll 20. There we go. So okay, I'll give you control of your sheet again in a moment, hon. But
I'm afraid I'm tapped out, Alice.
in fact, Nicola, since you can, would you please hit the button that says resist frenzy for us? No. Fortunately for Alice this time round, she succeeded. And she isn't going to rip Bluebird's throat out for the next 60 seconds.
What do you say instead of all that, we just go find some gamers?
So that's essentially some of the core mechanics there in regards to dealing with your willpower, dealing with the blood, and the hunger, the obsession, and all that jazz. Oh, so yeah, I showed you as well how we have the difference between there's aggravated damage and superficial damage. So all these dashes, they mean superficial damage. Nicola, if you would kindly click on one of your on the health bar, I would like you to click on one of those dashes and give yourself a point of aggravated damage, because if you're completely full of superficial damage, the next bit of damage you get is going to start getting aggravated, and if you get all your health covered in aggravated damage, then Alice is going to lock up and just fall to the floor in torpor. What's torpor? Torpor is the word for when a vampiric body has taken so much punishment that it just locks down. It basically goes into recovery mode. It cannot move. It is just basically knocked out, basically. If a vampire continues to take damage while it's in torpor, such as getting its head cut off or being left out in the sun, then that is what we refer to as the final death. And you are gone forevermore. Other ways to get a character into torpor is a stake through the heart, or, certain other abilities that spellcasters, people of faith, those kind of individuals could maybe do. But the most likely thing is you're either going to take a shitload of damage and be knocked out, or you're going to get the stake in the heart. Now, a lot of people would assume, wait, a stake in the heart doesn't kill you outright? No, that's a myth that vampires have put out for that very reason. People basically want to think that, just a simple piece of wood is going to kill this undead monster. It won't. But a stake through the heart, then leaving them outside to be kissed by the sun, or fire in any way, shape or form. Fire is the worst. That will instantly do aggravated damage. And if you basically take full aggravated damage with fire, you're gone. Also, fun thing about fire.
I have. Oh,
Hello.
sorry, go on.
No, ladies first, please.
Okay, I just had a question. Okay, is this like a Walking Dead situation where if we are able to get rid of like one of the limbs with the fire, we can still continue on just with one limb kind of thing, or no?
Interesting thing about limbs. There are some. So one of the things that we were speaking about earlier on that you
Dang it,
missed
sorry.
was no. Don't apologize at all. One of the things that we were talking about was domain, your territory, where you basically are allowed to hunt in the city, because by and large, everywhere is owned by somebody, and you need permission to be hunting on their land. Sometimes poachers, when they get caught, they are punished in different ways. Most vampires, or kindred as they call each other, they don't tend to, kill each other just like that, just for poaching. That's a little extreme and not good business. But they like to send messages. So limbs will often be removed as a way of reminding people whose land is what. Fortunately, this is one of the interesting things about vampires. You are all frozen in time. Your physical form, your appearance, your hair, pretty much everything about you is identical to when you were turned. Every single night, your body resets. So, over the course of, let's say, a couple of days, that hand that got cut off for stealing will eventually grow back. It's gonna be a bit painful, and you're probably gonna get some dodgy looks from, the mortals that are walking around, so probably want to be prepared with a good excuse for that. But the hand will eventually grow back.
Okay, no, but like my question was like, I don't know if you ever watched the episode of The Walking Dead where one of them like they are basically taken by cannibals, and oh, then actually no, that's the wrong episode. Oh yeah, I think it was the doctor that like basically he got infected and they were able to cut off his leg before it went up to the rest, or his arm. I can't remember if it was arm or leg, before it went to the rest of his body. So let's say I'm attacked by fire. Can I remove my arm or my leg? Like let's say let's say they put fire to my leg. So before it rises up the rest of my body, can I cut off my own leg and survive the fire, or no?
I like the way you think. So I would say this: vampires aren't like dry wood or kindling. There are fluids in you. It's just all blood, all of it's blood, including your tears. But I would say if it's probably a better idea to try and remove the shirt or the jacket that's on fire. But I, the storyteller, would allow you to make a roll to try, and if you want to cut your arm off before the fire spreads, I would allow that. That is something I'd be more than happy to allow.
All right, and then I can just wait for my limb to grow back, or does fire cause permanent damage?
There are very, very, very few things that cause permanent damage to vampires. But there are some things. Fire does a lot of really bad damage, but it can be recovered over time. As I mentioned earlier, fire does aggravated damage. You can only recover, I think, 1 aggravated damage a day. It just did, there are certain rules and everything. Like the nitty-gritty, I'm going to, send to everybody. I'm going to put up some resources and everything for everybody to, look at. So it's not just in my head. But in essence, the only thing that you would really need to worry about in Chicago that's going to cause permanent damage would be the claws of a lupine. AKA werewolves.
Okay.
Chicago has a werewolf problem.
I'm sorry, it's just cool.
Yes, the werewolves are pretty fucking cool. But yeah, there are certain vampires, like if anybody's ever watched LA by Night, on Twitch or YouTube. One of the Anarch Barons is named Nines Rodriguez. He was an NPC in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines from the early 2000s. And during that game, mild spoiler alert, he helps the player character take out a werewolf. Now, 10, 15 years, whatever later, when he shows up as a character in LA by Night, he still has the scar marks that the werewolf gave him. Those don't heal. And that's one of the reasons why vampires really don't like werewolves. And ironically enough, werewolves don't like vampires for some strange reason. They think they're killing the world or something.
Yeah.
In other words, just like use the same tactic as with stray dogs. Get away, doggy.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll work fine.
Yeah. Again, it's not like it's not like any of them are zealots or anything.
No. Now, full disclosure, I don't know either storyteller. I'm not super ingrained with the Werewolf the Apocalypse lore. I have some very loose ideas.
If you need to know anything, I'll help you develop.
That is deeply appreciated, hon.
Because I know werewolf backwards and forwards.
Oh fuck! Okay. Respect, thank you. I might tap into your knowledge in certain locations, but yeah.
Worm in the wild are part of my soul.
Yeah. Cool, very cool. But yeah, so werewolves are, I would say they are an existential threat, but only in sort of like the outskirts of cities. They tend to not go to the more traveled areas. The cities and high population areas, they're usually reserved for vampire control. It's the outskirts that the werewolves mainly deal with. Ghosts. You never know where you're going to see a ghost.
Do we have a spidey sense of sorts whenever we encounter a werewolf in human form, or no?
There are ways of telling. So let's actually look at the character sheet. Again, we've got Nicholas up here at the moment, so don't worry about the lack of dots. But I would say wit and intelligence, maybe. You could roll that to something along insight. I would say insight and wits. There's a few different combinations that you could roll.
Little context clues like squeaky toys in their mouth.
yeah, probably.
Constant smell of wet dog, that kind of thing.
That is actually a thing, yes. I would say I would give you this for free as well. More often than not, most vampires, by and large, they just look like regular people. Maybe a little pale sometimes, but it's not super easy to tell a glance at a vampire unless you're a vampire yourself. However, the werewolves do seem to have certain senses, sense of smell or something like that. So if you see a small group of people that look a little bit scraggly or a little bit, let's put it this way, people who aren't wearing business suits or anything like that, and as a pack, they're all sort of like staring you down. You give it a little sniff. Run.
I got a perfect.
Are you perpetuating the gang mentality with werewolves?
I am.
It's not a gang if it's a pack.
Exactly. World of difference, Deanna. World of difference.
A pack is a family. A pack is in the blood.
Yes, but you are saying, it's a group of suspicious-looking group of people.
Yes, they're suspicious, but I'm not saying they're suspicious-looking. They're suspicious of you.
They're suspicious acting toward you.
Yeah.
Oh, because they don't like us. Okay, I get it.
Exactly.
You're the subject of suspicion, Deanna.
Exactly.
Come here, guys. I got this. Here, boy. Go get it. There will always be that one werewolf who's like young and overly excited will go after the tennis balls, and the others are like, oh, for fuck's sake, Greg.
You're like literally, Jonas, making me think of like a locked door mystery. One of them is a werewolf. Can you solve it? And one person's like, here's a ball. Like they throw it, and it's like, no, Greg, no.
God damn it, Greg.
I love it. Greg the werewolf will appear at some point in this game, probably.
Yes. Besides,
Is he friends with David?
Maybe.
yes,
Probably.
it's possible to learn it's possible to teach a werewolf manners. It is possible if you turn to tame them. You just have to have the right motivation.
I would have probably been all cheeky and been like, you know, good boys, I don't usually mind it. Somebody staring me down when looking like they want to eat me, but you guys kind of look when you want to tear me apart, which isn't always a good thing.
So.
It's just me. I taste about as well as I look.
Is that Alice?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Oh, yeah, so this is the first I'm hearing cover.
Alice is a Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Yes?
we kind of glossed over that. For people who don't know what the Nosferatu are.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, would you like to explain?
Sure.
You know,
have you ever? Sorry. Oh, Journus. Okay, I thought you meant me.
Was it, you know, the old vampire film Nosferatu, where it is just this horrible bat-like creature with the little tiny fangs and the bald head and all that? That's pretty much what the Nosferatu are in this game. They are ugly, bat-like creatures, and they tend to hang out in the sewers because they can't hide. They really can't. They cannot integrate with society because they look like fucking monsters.
Yes. If people don't have reference to Nosferatu movie, I would also point them to Kurt Marlowe from Salem's Lot, and also to the movie Shadow of the Vampire, if you've ever seen that, which is about the filming of Nosferatu.
Such a good movie. Such a good movie.
Shadow of the Vampire, it's a good one.
And
Kenneth
that
Branagh
whole sorry, go ahead.
Kenneth Branagh was the kid, wasn't he? No, I forgot. No, never mind.
Alright, I'll put something in random streaming chat.
I love Nosferatu. They're awesome.
You know, sad though. I mean, like, in the sense that, you know, like, in the sense that, you know, at the same time, like, if you encounter what it is, like, oh, you think just because I look like a monster, I'm a monster kind of thing. It's just this kind of, you know, like, you take that.
Oh, I don't see any reason to follow those kind of things. The only sad thing is the rest of the people who can't recognize the beauty of a Nosferatu when they see one.
Now, I want you to picture that image, but as a alternative computer nerd.
Oh, wow.
That's Alice.
Love it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me actually show that on the stream stram. Let me just add
Yes.
a display capture.
I really feel bad about saying this, but, like, I mean, in the sense of, like, being able to hide your fangs, like, COVID would actually be a god blessing for vampires, wouldn't it? Like, social distancing, dude. Social distancing. Oh, cute.
I like it.
No,
So,
yes.
very badass. Yeah. So,
And that's an important
You
thing.
talk properly
about-
when you've got these fangs.
I think they're so very impressive, Alice. I love them dearly. You have a lovely aura about you.
Thanks. Sure, we'll go with that.
Would you say?
I said thanks. Sure, we'll go with that.
Oh no, Bluebird believes it. There's no need for deception dice. I've told that Devillo can tell you that that's an essential part of her character. She does not treat any vampire's appearance as ugly. We're all in this together.
yeah, Bluebird's
Even they're most hideously deformed.
yeah, no, Bluebird's a different kind of monster.
My deformities are all on the inside. Thank you very much.
So,
I think that in general, at least in the case of Tezzy, like, I think definitely, like, her idea or conception of beauty would have changed, because when you're all, like, so-called perfect creatures, but you know that deep down inside some of them are monsters, yeah, you kind of get cynical.
So that's a thing, Deanna. I just realised. Thank you so much for the reminder. We explained who the other character's going to be. Who's Tezzy?
Okay, I don't really have very much, so it's not going to be a very interesting character. I'm sorry, everyone. Oh god, I missed everyone's introduction.
No.
Deanna, Diana, don't sell your character short before you even say anything. Let us decide if it's interesting or not.
Also, if everyone wants, because she did miss it earlier, if everyone wants to very briefly give her the Cliff Notes version of who each character is.
Yes, I'm Bluebird, born in the 20s, Southern lady who builds art decor houses that are actually like underneath or like torture dungeons.
And Sephi?
Basically, Grigori is he became a vampire just after the Third Crusade ended. Spends a lot of time sleeping, but the times he is active, he tends to be making sure vampires don't break the rules or become a threat to humans.
Nobody's perfect.
And Alice, we basically heard, if you wanted to quickly recap.
Oh. This is a peach. Came to the big city with big dreams, realized it was all shit. Got into some trouble when she was going up to meet with one of her internet friends who turned out to be a Nosferatu. Got scared, ran away, got drank by a young vampire, and then her friend, quote-unquote, saved her by turning her. And now she's met up with Blueberry and lives in a cool little plush house doing design work for Blueberry.
I love the fact that, and again, well, the character's name is Bluebird, but I am begging you that be Alice's name for Bluebird.
Oh, God.
Oh, if I keep saying Blueberry, don't I?
Yeah.
Sure, I can do that.
Blueberry was my evil horse.
Yeah. Don't worry, Blueberry, I got you.
You are Sam Bluebird, aren't you?
But yes,
Look, I know your client says they want all this salmon pink on the walls, but I think it's horrendous. I think we should go a little bit more fuchsia.
Well, that's the thing about subtlety like that. They'll say they want salmon, but if you make it work and it's fuchsia, most of them won't even notice. And if they do complain, we can just fix it. But I always go with my true artistic vision and then let them react to it.
So, to bring it back around, we have yet to hear who is Teze, Deanna?
Yes.
Was.
Deanna?
Yes.
Who's Tezzy?
Yes, but who's Icy?
Oh, Icy's just listening in.
Icy's just listening.
Yeah.
I don't skip you, that's why. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Icy's the peanut gallery today.
Throwing
Throwing shade at us.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good, that's good. Well, Tezzy, is una española, and she ran away, with someone who she thought was the love of her life, but she was a little bit of a bratty rich girl. And, she got kind of sick and tired of everything. Thank you very much. Doodle was helping with that. So she kind of got sick and tired of, the expectations of having a noble title. And so she kind of, because even though nobility meant nothing back then, but still. And so she ran away, and then, things went crazy. She got turned, and she kind of spent, the Roaring Twenties and a little bit between Europe and America. And she's kind of just settling in. She doesn't necessarily dislike humans. She kind of doesn't really think well about either humans or vampires, because she's a bit of a cynic. But at the same time, she's good for a laugh, and she has fun at the party. So if you are good to her, she will be good to you.
Okay. And one thing that I did want to, highlight as well is the type of vampire you are. You are, which is actually my personal favorite, you are what is known as a Ravnos. The Ravnos are basically, in earlier versions of the game, they were one of the more, let's be honest, problematic backgrounds, because they were supposed to be inspired by, sort of like, like travelers, what's the piece? I hate saying the word because we're not supposed to say the word anymore, but like gypsies. the word you're supposed to use these days?
Romani.
Thank
Romani.
you, Romani. Thank you. Again, it's my age. I do apologise for that humbly.
Well, to be fair, that's more than an American hang-up, from what I've been told. So.
Oh.
Yeah, because I actually do have friends who are, descendants of gypsies, and they actually do, like, for them, they hate the term wanderer or traveler, because that has been something that has been imposed upon them, but they actually do take pride in being called gypsies, at least the ones I have known.
Yeah. Okay. Clarification, deeply appreciated there. I'm a flipping white dude, so again, it's like everything that all these different cultures and everything that I'm trying to express are through the lens of being some white dude, so I'm gonna get shit wrong, and I humbly apologize. But yes, the Ravnos are kind of inspired by that type of lifestyle, those type of people. They're travelers. Their particular clan bane is that they can't stay in one place for too long. If you if Tezzy spends more than one night in the same space, she's going to have to start making wisdom saving throws, or else she's going to start taking aggravated damage. So it's kind of a curse where she can't really... I believe it's like an area of like 1 square mile. So it's kind of, it kind of helps keep the Ravnos moving. They are very good at networking. They are one of the more forgotten clans as well, because this is something that we'll go into detail with, off-stream, Deanna, and I'll send you some stuff. But in the 1990s, a thing happened, a very bad thing, and the Ravnos went from being one of the more established clans to almost not existing. So the fact that that Tezzy is still alive, or unalive as the case may be, is a bit of an achievement, and she has lived through some shit. But these modern knights, a lot of the more established vampire bloodlines and the established sects like the Camarilla and so on, they kind of treat the Ravnos as little better than clanless, bloodless individuals barely worth paying attention to. As a result, the Ravnos have been very good at working their way through the systems. They can go pretty much wherever they want because they're not wanted anywhere. They have been able to network and make connections across all kinds of factions, including the Sabbat. So Tezzy is most likely someone who has, over the past 100 years or so, she has seen the world and then some. And she has connections that most vampires could only dream of. Maybe not high ranking, but a lot of, surface level, street level, friend of a friend kind of thing.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and okay, technically the name is Florentina, but she likes Tezzy. She gave up everything, so Tezzy is good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that is essentially, the main characters. So again, we've established a little bit that, we now have a connection between Alice and Bluebird. Bluebird and Grigori know each other. The concept that I was thinking of when you were telling me that you were going to play a Ravnos was that she was basically brought to Chicago with this one other, courier, basically, because a lot of the Ravnos, they make a living acting as couriers between the different cities, because as we have established in this modern setting, the government knows you exist, as in the human government, as in cell phones and security cameras and all that stuff. That's one of the reasons why the Camarilla flat out have banned technology, modern technology, cell phones, all that jazz, and they're kind of retreating in this weird little feudal bubble, thinking, hey, if the humans the humans forgot about us last time, so it's going to happen again. Not really accepting the truth that digital is kind of a little more permanent than parchment.
I have to know, like, are they like? Do we have like messenger owls or hawks or something? I just have to know.
Well, here's the thing. There are some vampires that have the ability to speak with animals. For example, Alice, do you mind if I give a little bit of a spoiler for one of the things you can do? Do we have a Nicola?
Oh, sorry, I was distracted by Lucy being adorable. What was that?
Basically, do you mind if I mention one of the abilities that Alice has?
Sure.
Okay.
So. And I think that you need to develop. I think you should also define. That's for the Camarilla. That's not everybody.
Exactly. The Camarilla are just one faction in the vampiric world, and they are very anti-technology. But other groups like, say, the Anarchs, they kind of do what they want. They're a little more careful. They don't. Most Anarchs try to not live stream themselves, although. Yes, this is a sort of reference to another show. There are some Anarch Barons that seem to think that live streaming everything they do in full view of everybody is a good idea.
I'm just gonna say I don't watch live stream, but I do like watching people Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a question though.
Yes.
So for instance, but we do come up on cameras, right? Like we did the reflection thing is a myth.
Most of you do.
Ooh.
Most of you do. One or two, though. There are, again, we only have 4 player characters here, and as a result, we only have 4 different types of vampire. I think there's about 13 major bloodlines, and there's at least one of them that I would say, because some of you are older than, say, Alice, your characters would have seen more. You know that there are some. The Shadow Dancers, some people call them. Technology just breaks around them. Mirrors warp and twist. The La Sombra, as they're called, they don't like technology very much. And they are basically the origin for that whole no reflection myth. And I would say that definitely the older characters, you've either heard of them. I would say both Tezzy and Grigori have encountered them up close. And the fact that you've actually survived to tell the story means something. Because they are dangerous.
Can I have garlic bread? Is that a thing? Or I don't know.
So here, yeah, I will actually mention this as well. Food, unfortunately, garlic is that's actually something we mentioned briefly in regards to faith and holy symbols. That only does damage to a vampire if the vampire is old enough or has a very specific flaw in their character creation that says that it actually works. So like holy symbols, garlic. There's actually a flaw that would kill you instantly if you were staked in the heart. So again, you can choose to get that at character creation, but
So to burst your bubble, but I'm French.
There you go. But yeah, did that answer your question?
That answered my question. Thank you.
Okay,
very much.
yeah, not a problem. Oh, but a sidebar: food in general, unfortunately, you're dead. You are all dead. You don't eat anything except blood.
I know, but like, let's say if I know, like, for instance, I understand the blood bags won't sustain us and stuff. But let's say, for instance, if I'm trying to dissimulate the fact that I am a vampire and I eat something, And let's say they gave you, it's like, hey, can you eat garlic? Like that's what my question, you know. And they just eat a giant slice of garlic in front of them, like.
Ooh, can I
what do you
answer
think?
this one, Devillo?
I'll allow you to answer this one, do you?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts. You could eat all the garlic you want, Diana, as long as you don't mind projectile vomiting garlic later.
Oh gosh, we'll try with vampires. We'll try like vampires.
The point is, when you eat regular food, you will puke it up. I think there's some perks that will let you do it like for a longer time or something, but you're gonna get sick.
So
I understand. It's like lactose intolerance. You know, you do it and you know that you're gonna be sick later, but it's okay.
No. You can't. Your body can't keep it because the only thing your body can keep inside of it is blood. It's a lot more than lactose intolerance.
I will say both of you are actually correct. If you're just a regular vampire who literally, say you have some cheese nachos and you try to bite into them, you will instantly, it will be like ash, it will be the dirt, it will be the worst thing you've ever put in your mouth, and your body will just reject it instantly, unless you use an ability which is called the Blush of Life. Now, unless I, the storyteller, am mistaken, every vampire can use the Blush of Life. How do you use the Blush of Life? As we said earlier, let's actually turn Alice's hunger back down to 1. You do a rouse check. So let me just show the overlay again. Do I have?
Are you going with the whole like it makes you like you can't keep it down though?
Yes, but sorry, I'm trying to do a thing here. Let me just show you the chat window here so you can actually see what happens. So every time you use certain abilities, I'm going to ask you to make a rouse check, and like so. Fortunately, Alice's rouse check succeeded. She doesn't get hungrier, but the color returns to her cheeks. It's like she's basically literally willing the blood to move around her veins a little bit more and simulate breathing and blinking and all the other stuff that you guys normally don't have to do. Now, again, Alice is a Nosferatu, so she's still going to look like a haunting nightmare. Sorry, hon. But the rest of you, that's a really good way of basically... The Blush of Life is a really good way of fooling people into thinking that you are not an undead monster. And while you're using the Blush of Life, you can absolutely simulate eating food. It probably won't taste amazing, but you won't throw it up instantly. You can basically hold on to it for as long as you have the Blush of Life up. However, before your body slips into torpor and you need to sleep when the dawn rises, you gotta get that food out of you. However you do that, because the whatever substance or material you have consumed, your body will not permit that to be in while you sleep.
So
and
thank you for letting. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, you're welcome, D. And you, Sephi?
So I can't pull a Lady D and mix blood with wine.
You can if you use Blush of Life, but that wine, let's put it this way, like most alcohol, you don't buy it, you only rent it.
Fair enough.
Thank you for letting me contribute to the barf sequence. I appreciate that.
I'm stealing that. Thank you, Dan.
You're very, very welcome. But yeah, there was a previous question that you had, Deanna, in regards to animal familiars. By and large, most vampires are terrifying to animals. You're just wrong. They can tell on a primal level you are a threat. You do not belong near them.
Like the dog in the like in the Omen, the dog barking, werewolf.
Yeah, dogs barking and everything. Also, 1 second, I have a question from the peanut gallery to my side. Yes, my love.
But Bex's character made friends with like all those rats.
Yes, she did. So, however, some vampires have a trait what's referred to as animalism. Any ability within the animalism tree means that you basically have a kinship with creatures, and they basically feel a lot more comfortable and relaxed around you. Like you can see here, Alice only has 1 dot in animalism, but that means that she has been able to choose a trait called Bond Familius. So she can basically make a familiar, and this familiar has certain abilities and everything that's unique to Alice, so we won't pry too much. But yeah.
Okay, but like, let's say for instance, if I found a baby squirrel abandoned, could I adopt the baby squirrel and it would not maybe hate me?
If you had the animalism ability and you basically made it drink your blood 3 times, then yes, it would be yours. But you would have to get it to drink your blood. Until then, might be a bit of a challenge.
That's why the good Lord invented.
That's why the good Lord
asked
invented
because-
what?
Syringes.
But go on, Deanna.
I ask because again, like, you know, if some people are like so anti-technology, then you know, like, I would think maybe there's like a carrier hawk or something that one of them has. I don't. It's like
Yeah.
something. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're going all medieval, then you know, hello.
No, that's 100% valid. And again, that comes back round to what I was trying to explain about the Ravnos earlier. Because organizations like the Camarilla are so terrified of technology, they rely on people like the Ravnos to be used as couriers to transfer messages written in parchment and, you know, in lockboxes from one dead drop to the next. You know, because email, anyone can read an email. Phone lines can be hacked. It's a thing. So that's kind of... Hi, I have another question from the Peanut Gallery, yes?
So, does this mean that there's a vampire out there who has pet mosquitoes?
So in case people didn't hear that on the microphone, is there a vampire that somewhere has pet mosquitoes?
Because a mosquito would totally drink your blood for
Yes.
more than citizens.
Yes. I would say I don't want to meet that person, but
Or
yes.
do mosquitoes not drink from vampires?
No, mosquitoes are
Well,
evil bastards. They'll drink from anything.
Carbon dioxide, so they probably wouldn't for a vampire.
Well, Nicholas seems to think that they wouldn't eat from a vampire. I, however, think it's a horrific, haunting image, so I'll leave it to... If someone wants to play that, sure, but...
They're attracted to the carbon dioxide of someone breathing out.
Oh.
If a vampire doesn't breathe out, it wouldn't attract them.
Oh, good point there. Carbon dioxide. Yeah, but no, good point well made. Okay, show off. Yeah. So, yes, so I suppose, yeah, and this all comes back round into what we were discussing earlier, how this bunch of characters know each other. Would you say it's fair to say that at some point Tezzy has been told to hand off a particular item or a document to one of the actually, I would say this, given the fact that Grigori is fairly old and has a certain position in, you know, vampire society, how do you feel, Deanna, that you would have worked as a courier for him on occasion, sending messages back and forth between him and some of his fellow elders? And this particular instance where you're, you know, hanging out with him now is just one of, you know, several that you've done over the past 100 years or so.
Sorry, but I just had a mental image of Alice trying to talk Grigori through setting up a smartphone.
Well, he's basically got like a pensioner's grasp of technology.
I know, that's why it's so
yeah,
funny.
Adorable.
Bluebird helps him with that too.
There.
She helps
No,
fill
don't
it
use your
in.
nail. You the pad of your finger, not the nail. Oh God.
This is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting. But yeah, I'm so sorry, Deanna. You cut out a little. Do you think that would be an interesting idea? This is, you don't have to, like lock down a decision right now. This is just like spitballing some ideas.
Yes, I do like it. I like it. It's fun. I get to, give packages to the old guy. Yeah, sure. I'm happy to help.
Okay, cool.
The last time I saw a mobile phone, it was the size of a house brick.
Yeah, basically. The last time he went to sleep would probably have been in about the 80s or so?
Yeah, about 1980. I'd say he woke up about 1975, went to sleep about 1985.
So he's awake for about 10 years and then he goes to sleep for another 40. On average.
I have to ask another question, and unfortunately, I hate asking it. I really do, but I really do. It's just, how much in the real world are we right now?
Okay. I would say this, and I'm in complete agreement with the publishers of the game. They made a decision for some of their streams that got cancelled and put on hiatus during the COVID pandemic. They made the decision that the World of Darkness was dark enough without fucking COVID in it as well. But people it's a real world thing that has caused a lot of harm and a lot of stress to a lot of fucking people. And they didn't want to cheapen it by turning it into a game mechanic or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. So if people want to have COVID in their games, then sure. But as far as I am concerned, and as far as they are concerned, this is an alternate world where the word COVID doesn't exist.
Just wanted to make sure, and don't worry, I'm still feeling freaking tired doing regular things, so I'm good with forgetting COVID ever existed.
Yeah.
There'll be one question, my friends. What happened with Marty and Jennifer's kids?
Marty and Jennifer?
Yes, DeLorean.
Holy shit. I actually didn't know what movie he was referencing then for a minute. Damn.
Yeah. You know what? Let me introduce you to this thing called Netflix. You'll love it.
Yes. Oh, can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I know it's not related to the game.
That's no. That's the whole point of this thing. Feel free.
I have a question. Is it true that did you guys get because we got a notification in Costa Rica that we weren't going to be able to use Netflix anymore? If it was in a separate household. So was.
Oh yeah, they're working on that all over the world.
I'm genuinely curious now. What's this? Are they just trying to make it harder for you to quote unquote leech off your friend's account?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, like for instance, my mom pays for 3 accounts. My mom, my dad, and her. My mom, my dad.
Yeah, they're changing it so that it's like in your home, and you have to like identify and verify a source. So you seem to be far away from home. You can't use your Netflix.
I see.
No.
Well,
that sounds like a good way to get subscriptions to plummet.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Because why would you pay more money for subscriptions? It's not like it's free. They charge you. My parents pay a lot.
The idea is they want it's the same reason any capitalism thing goes. They have to promise their shareholders growth, and so that has to happen. It's not an option. They can get sued if they don't do everything to maximize growth and profit.
Yeah, but still.
Actually do a company and say, you undercharged for this. You could have charged all the individual people, but you didn't.
So it's almost like every attempt to cut back on piracy is actually really stupid.
Yeah. But
That's why I prefer artisanal work. You can't pirate something if there's no copies.
Exactly. Bespoke art.
Stick with the original.
But yeah, so let me, because I had notes and then we threw that out of the window pretty early on.
Okay, so we just thank you also for answering the question. I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure we are post COVID or no COVID.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Here's I will say this. So this is actually going to lead into the next thing about expectations, about what kind of game we want and everything. As you might have picked up on one or two things, it's called the World of Darkness, and Vampire the Masquerade, it's been around since like the very early 90s and everything. It has a reputation, it has a certain it's got baggage, so I mentioned this to a few people yesterday, but you can actually do a lot of different types of games with this system. You could have something that's very grim, dark and gritty and bitter and twisted. You can have something that's actually hilarious. You could almost have a comedy, but with vampires. And if you want examples of that, check out Seattle by Night, which is performed by Jason Carl, who is like the brand manager for, I forget what the new company is, but what used to be White Wolf. He's one of the guys who's been playing this game since the 90s. But his other...
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
But his other more well-known stream is LA by Night, which is a far more serious, dark, but still entertaining, story. So tone and everything, like any game system, it's negotiable. It's entirely up to the sort of game that we want to play. So at some point, what I'm going to be doing is I was originally thinking of going through a checklist, like, the consent checklist and everything, and like, what are you willing to have in the game, what you're not willing to have. But I actually spoke with a few people, and I agree with them that it's actually, I don't like the idea of putting you all on the spot and saying, oh hey, are you okay with this? Oh, but you're not okay with it. That this should be a one-on-one thing between me and each individual player. And so I am going to take the results from that, and I am going to tailor the game accordingly. So if one of you is deeply uncomfortable with a thing, it ain't going to be in there. And we're not going to discuss, who it was that was uncomfortable. Say, for example, 3 of you are like, damn, I'm really, really into, this, that, or the other. But one of you is like, I don't feel comfortable with that. Then it is out. And I will not be discussing who the person was that didn't want to do it, or if anyone else was in about, because you don't know what the other people were, about. Does that make sense? Does that seem fair?
Makes sense to me.
I just figured that was the best way to make sure everyone's voices is heard, but at the same time, I know that some of us are very gregarious and outgoing, and some of us are a little more timid. I know I can be very timid at times. So I didn't want to risk people not feeling comfortable actually saying that something really upsets them or really puts them on edge, or they're uncomfortable with something. Or at the same time, I don't want people to feel embarrassed that they're really excited about something, or they really want to try something else. Okay, so that's what I'll be doing over the next few days with y'all individually. There's a few more bits and pieces. We already did like a bunch of the rules and mechanics that I really wanted to do. And there are some character design things that we've not really gotten into individually, because I've not had that much time to go over everything yet. But by and large, I think that's kind of everything for the most part. That I had prepared anyway.
It's gonna be fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't catch that. What did you say?
It's
Ooh,
gonna be
yeah.
fun.
Yay! I'm glad. So, does anyone have any? Is there any, like, again? There's no such thing as a stupid question. Does anybody have anything they wanted to bring up? Is there anything that they're really excited to try? Anything they they don't? Clarifications on the setting. Anything?
All I'll say is I've added a little bit to Grigori's backstory and where he currently lives now. Yeah, he's in a nice place.
Okay. I will say, in regards to your haven, like places you live and all that, that is actually mechanically part of character creation. And that is something that I've kind of... That was a step that I skipped when I was putting some of your sheets together.
Right.
So you can absolutely have... you're absolutely fine to have a nice pad and everything. It's just if you want to make use of it mechanically during the game, that is something that we will have to, set up in the next week or two mechanically. And I'm going to share information.
But it's not just that he has a lot of money given his age, and he's probably made some wise investments over the centuries.
Yeah.
Plus, it's to look after his human vassals as well. So.
Yeah. I suppose that is one thing that we can mention. Money and resources are a lot more nebulous than they are in, say, D&D. You don't need to keep track of what your gold is or what your resources are. By and large, there are certain tools and certain key items that have a mechanical benefit, but by and large, if it makes sense for your character to, have $50 million, then yeah, your character has $50 million. That's basically going to translate mechanically to just like five dots in resources.
Sorry.
Go on.
I have two more questions about vampire tropes.
Okay.
Okay, how necessary? I'm sorry.
Sorry, what?
Oh, I thought you just made a noise, like not happy noise.
I'm in pain, but I'm okay.
Okay.
I thought that might have been what you were reacting to. That's why I said what I said.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry you're in pain.
No.
Hope you feel better.
That's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. My question was, okay. Coffins, a thing or no? And do we have a Renfield?
So, both very good questions. First of all, you can absolutely have a coffin if you wish. It doesn't have to be a coffin so much as any small area where you can basically lie down and be in torpor for the day.
Given the fact that I'm a nomad, I probably have a kind of sleeping bag, I guess, like a makeshift little sleeping bag. I would
Yes.
That would be like a full body and just keep me away from the sun.
Yes, that is a thing that exists in this game. They are called day bags, and they are custom built specifically for the traveling kindred on the go. They open from the inside. They can't be opened from the outside. The only issue with them is in regards to safety against the elements and everything else. There's not much stopping some random person from, traveling down the road, seeing your car pulled up and, searching and, opening the bag to see what's what inside. So...
Yeah, or how policemen get abused by the homeless all the time. Yeah, I understand.
Dennis, you just said these couldn't be opened from the outside.
Well, no. I mean, there isn't an opening, but I mean, you see a fabric bag on it that's about person-sized. It's like you just get a knife and be like...
Fair enough.
I wonder if any vampires ever woken up in the morgue because they thought they were dead. Oh, there's a dead body.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason that several people, especially in Chicago, they seem to have a rotating door policy in regards to their night shift morgue people. They just keep, quitting. Can't think why.
Okay, and what about the Renfield?
The Renfield, as you call it, these are what we would refer to as ghouls. Now, a fledgling.
Sorry.
Okay, it's all good. We'll get to whatever that was in a moment, but the ghouls are like a fledgling, like Alice. It's a little bit early in her career to be able to make her own ghoul, but essentially what a ghoul is, it's a living, breathing, mortal person, whether it's a family member that you trust or someone who has been indebted to you and needed a favor. Whatever reason, whatever the deal that's been made, they have taken some of your blood. You've given them a little sip, a little taste of this new drug or whatever, this interesting little cocktail, and inside are a few drops of your blood. 3 times a dose, and then they just realize the truth that you are the most important person. They will do anything you say. They will do whatever they can to make you happy, and they are yours. Consent's a thing, but is it when,
maybe they were having a really bad life and we gave them one that's better. And I know that's the argument of every Star Trek episode where there was a utopic society that was ended up being enslaved. I do realize this, but it happens.
Well,
Well, we are monsters.
I can confirm that. I don't know if they count as ghouls, but the vassals that look after Glory. Oh, they are ghouls.
They are ghouls mechanically, yes.
Well, they were consensual.
Yes. And consent is a thing. It can be. But yeah, go on, Deanna.
But, for instance, I mean, can they, because I was thinking, can we have, somebody who can help us, Renfield help track them loving it kind of thing,
Yes. I mean, literally, that's what the purpose of a ghoul is. They are your daytime protectors. They are your guardians. They are your servants. They are able to go out in the sun. They are not harmed by the sun's rays, but your blood, not only does it allow you to exert a certain suggestive will on them, it also gives them a tiny bit of your power, a little bit of strength. And mechanically, what that comes down to is a ghoul has 1 dot in one of your main abilities. So again, bringing up the character sheet to explain what I mean by that. Let's bring back. Let's do Grigori this time. So looking up Grigori's sheet real quick, we scroll down here. You see he has a dot in celerity, 2 in obfuscate, 1 in fortitude, 1 in potence. You could basically choose, Grigori, which one of those 4 abilities your ghoul has 1 point in. And with 1 point, that means they, I think they have access to just one of the abilities underneath it. It's a bit newly. I need to rerule the specifics on ghouls and what they can and can't do. But basically, ghouls are very, very, very... they're basically humans with a little extra pep. They can't rouse the blood, they can't do anything involving blood potency, and they don't get hungrier. However, here's the good thing as well. As long as the ghoul is well fed with your blood, they don't age. There are some ghouls that have been around for hundreds of years, serving their master.
No, that I did not know.
Yes. So I'm willing to say this. You do have you mentioned there's a family that has been protecting Grigori.
Yeah.
I would say you could have it so it's the same individuals over and over, except when Grigori goes to sleep, the blood supply is limited. so they would begin their true age would catch up with them. So if they are willing and you're willing to do that to them, that is something they could do. Basically, they get an extra 10 years.
Yeah, he's more willing to do that.
Yeah, but they don't last forever, unfortunately. You know, they will continue to age those 40 years that you're not around. But as I say, if a ghoul who has been around for 100 years no longer has access to their master's blood, or indeed any blood of a kindred, time catches up with them real fast. And just like you would a vampire that's been burned in the sun, they become dust.
Like Dorian Gray style, you know.
Exactly that.
I always wondered if Dorian Gray was because of a heart attack because he just got the shock of his life. I think that felt like that probably did that with it, but still.
That's a point of view. But yeah, one other thing I did want to mention. Trying to make a new vampire is kind of a taboo thing in most of the major sects of vampire or kindred society, because on some level, as much as you want to be nice about it and you want to be good people, you don't like the competition. Every new vampire is more competition for your food.
Yeah, and plus, if you are actually trying to be a nice person, like you're giving them a life of where they're going to be ostracized and, especially in technology, hunted down by people. It's not a nice life to live, you know. I mean, if it's not nice for us, like, you know, I don't want to bring you into this isn't your circus, dude.
Exactly, that is the mentality a lot of kindred have. On some level, it's not always the case, but more often than not, the person that made you is the person that murdered you. So...
This happens.
So it's rare that you have a good relationship with the person that made you. Again, Alice?
Do we owe anything to our sires? I have to ask that too.
Well, it depends who you ask. According to... Yeah, now you're getting it. According to Kindred Society, that your sire is responsible for you. Anything that the child does reflects on the sire. So that sire is absolutely going to have their boot on your neck for a good amount of time until you're quote-unquote ready to be introduced to real society and be responsible for your own actions.
Damn, it's like a bad BDSM relationship. Sorry.
It 100% is like that. But again, that's with larger vampire society. Things happen. Again, Alice's, inception and everything is kind of the exception there. But again, we do need to go into a bit more detail at some point, Nicola, about who your sire is in regards to what their generation is and what your relationship is going to be with them going forward. But that's
I think they're still good friends, and I just have a mental image of her calling him daddy just to get a rise out of him.
I won't lie, I thought the same thing of myself at one point, and I can tell you he hates every moment of it. It makes him so uncomfortable, and it is the perfect way for Alice to get whatever she wants, because he is just too busy cringing in a little ball. So, yeah.
Oh, Alice is such a brat. I love her.
Can't wait to meet Alice.
Yeah. This is going to be fun.
No fucks.
And I'm sorry I was laughing. It was what you said. Ghouls. I'm sure if you remember.
I'm very sorry, Dee. You were breaking up there. Why were you laughing about the ghoul thing again, sorry?
Because I was thinking about Bluebird's ghoul with all the things you said about ghouls are for.
Yes. Not everybody has. Well, we won't spoil that.
Yeah.
Everybody's relationship with their ghoul is unique.
That's why I was laughing. Not to keep
Yeah.
anybody in.
I kind of want a ghoul. Can I have a ghoul too?
At your age, I think it makes sense because, again, if you're driving across country and everything, you're going to need someone to, keep the engine rolling through the day. It is 5:30.
Maggie.
Yeah, apologies. Our delightful dog is wondering why the hell she's not being fed and petted and taken for a walk. So,
Pay attention, Daddy.
yeah, she's kind of getting to the phase where she needs attention.
Seriously?
I would like one attention, please.
I would like one attention, please.
Yeah, she's an attention
Daddy, do I mean
slut.
nothing to you? Do I mean nothing to you, Daddy?
Yes, exactly. Oh, they're asking if Maggie means nothing to me. I'm like, that's right, Maggie. You mean nothing to me. So cute.
Maggie, remember this.
Yes, she. Yes. But yeah.
This is how you get stared at when you're asleep.
But yeah, like I say, I'm probably going to have to, because at this point in time, I'll keep this on stream because this explains why I've been away for several months. My beautiful wife is still recovering from, medical stuff and everything, so I must go forth into the world and take care of my puppet. So we're going to, for the time being, we're going to wrap this up now, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but if anybody has any further questions, there's no such thing as a stupid question, and I am absolutely more than happy to, elucidate you.
That's a question.
Ooh.
More demand. You must tell Meg that we love her.
Hey, beautiful wife.
What?
Everybody loves you.
No.
We do.
Yes.
Lies.
I will
And we hope
remove it.
she feels better soon.
Would you like to say that again? I've removed the
And we
earphones.
hope she feels. And we hope she feels better soon.
Thank you.
Can I make a request also, DeVillo?
Yes, ma'am.
If you've got any ice cream left, could you give Maggie some ice cream later?
Absolutely. I will give her, and to clarify for the people who are watching, we're talking about ice cream that's
Yes.
specifically for dogs. Which
Specifically
we
for dogs.
actually paid for, so yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I guess this.
But yeah,
Love.
I am going to wind things down there, and by the way, this is a perfect opportunity for me to show off, whoop, the little red blood transition, and whoop, the
Ooh.
yeah. So this is sort of like the slideshow that I'm gonna be using for when the stream's opening and closing. It's basically, this is a bunch of the artwork from the PDFs. They have a lot of photographs and everything, paintings and concept art, and I figured it was a really good way of setting the mood and the tone for World of Darkness and this, that and the other.
It is.
What I'm going to do as well is I've already done it with Nicola, but the books that I'm using as reference, the actual, how you build a character and, or some of the setting information and everything, if you guys need it, I am going to be sharing the Google Drive with my books, so you can, pursue what you want at your leisure. The only thing, my dog is being adorable. The only thing that I request is you don't read up on, shall we say, a scenario known as the Sacrifice, which is in the Chicago by Night book, because while the basic idea is that we're going to be doing probably a 1 or 2 session game, it is my hope that at some point we do an actual campaign. But before we do a vampire...
River Song style, no spoilers.
No spoilers. But yeah, and since I will say this, while we have Icy as well in our audio chat, I will say this as well, and I've mentioned it in text chat before, but I wanted to be very clear, and I'm going to say this on stream as well, so everyone knows this. Tomb of the Abomination, our 5th edition D&D game, is going to be returning in April. March is basically I'm going to be doing some Vampire the Masquerade as sort of like a palate cleanser and as a way of getting back into, streaming tabletop games. But the stuff that we had set up for Tomb of Annihilation, that's going to be returned to in April. And I want to try and maybe run that for 2 months. And after that, we'll see where everybody is. And then we can maybe do a more long-form version of Vampire.
Well, I am hoping to steal a Thursday off you for something I've got planned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that, if there's specific things that, other people want to do. Because again, I've been away from the group for a little bit. And Thursday is just a suggested day. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's a day where we can all get together and all that, I don't give a crap what the day is.
Fair enough.
As long as we can schedule it and, everyone can do the thing.
Because I think since you gave me a big hand in creating the Scorpion Coast, you should be there at the earliest point in the timeline.
Oh, okay, I think I know what you're on about there. But yeah, that sounds awesome. But yes, I sadly must dash for now. You are all beautiful fucking people, and I love you all. And thank you for, hanging out and having a chat with me about some little vampires. And and I guess we should actually be clear about when the Vampire the Masquerade game is happening. So on my calendar, the first Thursday is unfortunately going to be taken up by some real life stuff. So we're going to be playing Vampire the Masquerade on Thursday, the 10th of March. So that's going to be in 3 weeks' time from today.
Ooh la la.
Yeah. So that gives us plenty of time to go through, the nitty-gritty of, like the character creation, finalize mechanics and everything and all that other good stuff. I just figured, like, since today I was actually off on a Thursday, I wanted to use the opportunity to, bring us all together and, touch base and, get the ball rolling and, rather than try and do all of this during the game itself, which would be, let's be honest, a typical disaster.
I'm sorry, I'm just really excited.
No, I'm really excited too. I really am. And it's, again, this is the first time that I've run a game for you, Deanna. I'm very, very excited. I hope you enjoy it. But yeah, I guess one last thing is, before we go, we currently have like the 4 players and everything, but like I say, you've been listening to this little coterie and everything. Is this something that you'd be interested in playing? Would you be interested in being a 5th member, or would you want to wait for Tomb of the Abomination in April? I think they're AFK at the moment. Oh, that's something I'll ask them later. That's fine.
Fair enough.
That's fine. But yeah, I since they were there, in the chat and everything, I figured, why not? But anyway, we're going to call the stream there, and I am going to take care of my puppuccino. So, I hope you all have a fantastic night, and see you all soon.
Next time.
Good night.